Another team validated a sixth player, Team Liman, and it's not Stefan Kojic. I can name anybody here, but the dude that they validated, his name is Nemanja Zigon, who was on Team Zivinice last year. He played in one challenger and averaged 7 points per game. But so far in this season, look, one challenger, 7 points per game in 2 games.
That's sounding better. It's sounding better now. Okay.
I don't think he's a bad player. All I'm saying is we will, for the first time since 2016, it looks like we will not be seeing Mihailo Vasic and Stefan Kojic do a handoff at the high post.
Which is going to be shocking. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, what is good? Welcome to the latest edition of Word on the Streets. Replace the E's with threes. This episode, however, we're not with three, we're with two. The founders of this podcast, of course, the Mountain, Boss Rozendaal, I'm the voice of 3x3, Kyle Montgomery. Back with some more 3x3 talk for y'all as we get closer to the World Tour season and the Women's Series. We'll get to that later, but not too long ago, we just wrapped up the Asia Cup. I was out there in Singapore. Boz was watching at home. Shout out to Vince, by the way. He couldn't make this episode. I think he's got a breakdance competition or something. What did he tell you, boss?
I don't know what he has. Technical foul to Vince for not being. No, I'm kidding. He's busy, man. He's a busy guy.
I know. He is the energy. Vince, we miss you. We gonna hold it down without you this episode. We got a few things we can get into, boss. Like,
yes,
we should probably put the Asia Cup to bed first. We can agree on that. We put the Asia Cup to bed first. First of all, I had a lot of fun. 6 days of competition. We did 89 games. Me and the Czar. Shout out to the Czar. Man, every year. I mean, it's exciting because it's one of the first. It's usually the first event, but since we had the Champions Cup this year, it was the second event. So that excitement kind of carries you through that kind of grueling 6 day, nearly 90 game event. It was the second one this time. So by day 4, me and Angelo, we was hurting, bro. We was popping throat lozenges and drinking lemon tea and But overall, I enjoyed it. Had a good time. I was curious to know your thoughts because we made some picks, and I did say a particular country was going to do a particular thing. And if I happen to be right, I was going to rub somebody's nose in it. I'm not going to really get into that. I'll let you go ahead and explain yourself.
I'll start by saying, and in the previous episode I mentioned this, I don't regularly watch the Asia Cup, right? This is kind of the off season for me. Yeah. And this is a tournament in which not a lot of teams perform that we'll see later on in the pro circuit. So I don't know. I tend to usually watch the finals day. This time I tried to tune in early. I promised you I would. So I went and checked out the qualifying draw first. Now, I couldn't watch all of that, let's be honest. Again, I still have a newborn kid at home. And also I watched some games and I was like, let me just tune back into the pool phase. But the pool phase was something, man. And I was hooked. Right? I was hooked. For starting at the pool phase, some amazing games, some really cool teams, some storylines to follow. And I ended up watching, the final 3 days, I ended up watching most of the tournament, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it had me kind of wanting for some of these teams to step out onto our pro circuit and for me to see more of them, actually. So, for me, good Asia Cup. I was on the couch with my son, chilling, watching. My throat and my voice are still okay. I can hear you're still struggling a little bit.
Well, yeah, I guess a little bit. Sometimes I'm yelling at home too. No, I'm playing. All right, we made picks, boss, and I do believe that I said, watch out for Japan.
Yes.
Because of one characteristic that they always possess, and it usually works well for them at the Asia Cup, and that was speed.
Oh, yes.
The quickness of the Japanese women's team to me. And again, I hadn't seen any of them play. I had no idea what to expect, but I know how they train them to play 3x3, and they pick players that fit within that system, and they delivered. They delivered. They played incredibly, took home a silver. Not nearly enough size to contend with the Gangaroos, who, congrats again. They go on the three-peat. They tough, man. I think they can compete all over the world. But I don't mean to toot my own horn and pat myself on the back, but beat, because they went ahead and pulled. They finished as a podium team, and then China's women took bronze. I also believe I'm gonna have to look back the episode, but I think I picked them as a podium finisher. We all went with Australia. I didn't pick. I slept on New Zealand. I gotta get New Zealand men. I gotta admit that one. Slept on New Zealand's men. Tatui Lewis is going to be a problem if we ever see him.
He's a star in the making, bro.
Yo, hey,
he is a star. I got some words on that team for you in a little bit, but he is a star in the making. I'll tell you this though. Japan women and China men made me eat my words. I can't say it any differently. Look, I told you, Japan women, I don't believe, and I didn't know these women, and now I know. I am fully educated. Look, they seem to find outstanding scores on the street corners there. I don't know how to do it. Takahashi was 48% from two, bro. Two-handed shot.
Wow.
Like most of the people from Japan, most of the women from Japan. They almost. This is what struck me. Again, look, they play speedy by design. They shoot a lot by design, but I think they take shots from certain spots on the floor by design, because almost all of their two-point shots were from the 45-degree angle to the basket, which means if you're offline, you still have a high chance of it going in off the backboard, which is insane to me. I didn't see them shoot a lot of straight-on twos. It was pretty much all 45 degrees. Now, if you can hit those at a 48% clip, you're going to win a lot of games, but they seriously proved me wrong. So Japan, yeah, I mean, you called it. So good on you. That's one. And let me change it to Chinese men. I may or may not have called them slightly disappointing in the last podcast. They were not slightly disappointing. I finally saw alpha dog in Han Yu Guo. I finally saw fight in Zhang. I finally saw. I mean, Yampeng wasn't even all that necessary in the sense that he's a good player, but he didn't need to be a star.
Though. Yeah, he was good, right? Yeah.
Yes. Better than I expected. And again, usually these fellas will come out and they'll see some of this and then they will never put it together. And they finally were able to put it all together, which to me is very interesting because they have the talent to not just compete at the Asia Cup, but I think if they step out into the World Tour, and I got some news on that front on two of these players in a little bit for you. But they're going to be interesting in that regard as well.
Now, we got to give you some love too now, Boz, because you did have Han Yu Guo on your top three players to watch in the tournament.
Now, I'll say, Han Yu Guo, I did have him on my top three teams. You know who else I had on my list? I may or may not have mentioned. There was a certain player on the Japanese men's team who I thought could go off in this tournament. And with go off, I meant he would probably score 10 plus. Oh. This dude came out and broke the scoring record. What happened?
Yo.
Ryo Ozawa. Wow.
Listen, for me, that was special. Calling the game for, now 10 years. And we've seen some high scores. So RJ Arbariento scored 18, that historic game against Iran. That was like maybe 5 years ago.
This one was also against Iran, by the way.
Facts. Then, is that a coincidence?
I don't know. We'll see.
Then there was Yua Imura on the Japanese team. This was maybe 2 years ago. She went for 18. I thought it was 19, but officially 18 in that game. Right when you thought that those would be the records, because we're talking about a game to 21. Ryo Ozawa, completely, the man lost his mind. You watched it. I'm sitting there. I got a front row seat. Boz, we didn't think that he was going to miss a shot. People that weren't even fans of Japan were on the edge of their seats, man. Every shot that left that man's fingers, the anticipation of it going through the rim, like if he missed one and he barely missed any, the crowd was shocked, disappointed. So for him to go for 20 points, I honestly wanted him to get 21, bro.
Yeah,
I wanted him to get 20. I wanted him to score all of them because obviously that would never be top. But I don't think his 20 is ever going to be top. Like, that was special. We probably will never ever see it again in the future of the game of 3x3. And man, he's probably a superstar in Japan now if he wasn't already.
He should be. He should be. And look, I told you I was watching this from home. I figured with these 4 guys on the squad for Japan, he would get a lot of scoring opportunity. And I figured they would play to his strengths and having be this opportunistic shot taker and possibly shot maker, as in the past Ozawa has been either very hot or very cold. I did not know this man could light a place on fire like this. That was insane. 20 points in a game to 21. Look, I'll tell you, I've scored 10 plus on occasion. It takes a lot out of you. And this guy was straight running around. And every time he touched the ball, he would just go up with it. Didn't care if there were 2, 3, 5, 17 hands in front of him. He would just shoot it. And it would go in. And I was at home. I may or may not have screamed in the living room. It was insane. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool to see FIBA 3x3 put on this little interview with him afterwards, talking about that game, where he was just like, yeah, very humble about it too. Yeah, it's just, I try to take a lot of shots and I had my mindset right and everything. I'm like, bro, brag a little bit. Like, come on now.
He gave his teammates the credit. He was saying they set great screens for him, and they did, because he was coming off screens, curling off screens a bunch. Some shots were just deep. Defenders weren't getting the hand up quick enough. But once he got in that zone, all of a sudden that rim, it must have looked like a hula hoop for him, because I mean he was so accurate, bro. And we've seen flashes, like you said. He's either hot or cold. Like, he's not lukewarm. He's not 3 of 10. He's 7 for 10, or he's 1 for 8. You see what I mean? Like that. Yep. That's who he's been. So this just happened to be one of those games. I was surprised they didn't finish on the podium. I think obviously he ran out of steam, and then he followed that 20-point game with an 11 or 12-pointer. The next game out. He just ran.
He was on fire, bro. Like, and it's in the zone, I guess. You don't see this much, I think, in 3x3 where people are that on, and he was. But I also mentioned, and that's not to take away from his scoring record, which is all time. But I did mention, if you're too dependent on him and he goes cold, that's a problem. And he went cold in that on that final day, especially in the game for third place. I also think they ran into a very, very good New Zealand team. So, that's also part of this. And, I dove into the statistics a little bit. Ozawa was still 40% on twos on the tournament. He shot 42 of them. His team total shot 62 twos. And out of the last 20, so the other 3 players, only made 4 total.
Yeah. What else is interesting, too, about that 20-point game? Is he wouldn't have even gotten to 20 had his teammate Dewa not been injured on the drive. So he dislocated his shoulder. He was really supposed to be shooting the free throw, but he couldn't shoot the free throw. So of course Ozawa comes in off the bench to shoot the free throw to make it 20. But he was even at risk of not getting to 20.
Yeah, but I think that, first of all, that's one of those what-if moments, sliding door moments, I guess. I like Dewa's game, and I think Dewa was going to be the secondary scorer on this Japan squad. And I think that dislocated shoulder messed him up a little bit, so his shot wasn't falling all too well. I think if he would have been playing at full strength, if he would have been playing not hurt, they could have gotten a medal. But in general, I like the style that these guys played with. I think it's a new kind of style in successful 3x3 basketball. Like, we've seen teams do this, the Koreas of the world, the Taipeis of the world. They play very fast with short teams, but it's never that successful. This, to me, was the first time that it actually worked and that it was successful and that it got a team into that, at least the semifinals, and into a potential medal, which ended up being a 4th place. So I'm curious to see if more teams do this, because if you play at this breakneck speed, a lot of the traditional 3x3 teams will not be able to keep up with you.
We talked about this on WhatsApp during the tournament, and I think successful 3x3 teams are going to have to adapt. Like, I like System 3x3, right? But I think the game is more exciting when either it's played at an accelerated speed like we see with Japan, or with, incredible athleticism. Like, I'd say, worthy kind of players. It just, I mean, 2-point shooting. You probably hate me now. Basketball traditionalists probably hate me saying this because like, oh, everything's gone to long range shooting, and where's the defense? But you can't lie when you watch that speed. The quickest way they move, they shoot a bunch of twos. The scores get to 21 quick. It's, to me, that brand of 3x3 is more exciting. I do think System 3x3 is more effective. It's more long-standing. You can win with that. Like, the degree of what's the word I'm looking for? You use it all the time. I don't know. The risk of losing is much higher when you take a lot of volume twos, as opposed to operating the other way.
I would counter that by saying
variance.
Great.
That's
the sort of variance. True, you're
yes.
right. There is a greater variance. I'll say this though: you can win with a tactic like that. Not per se the speed, but the amount of twos you shoot. If you have the Tui Lewis on your squad, because my God, did you notice? And I don't know if you did, but New Zealand, 65% of their shots came from long range.
I did.
So they shot way more twos than ones, like incredibly more. Like, we don't ever see this. Like last year, I remember on the pro circuit, on the World Tour, there was a team for a while that was close to 60%, and I was so confused by that. They went all out on shooting long range shots. The Tui Lewis, 55% from range on 31 twos on the tournament is an insane stat. That's nuts. But I gotta give a shout out to someone, or the people that don't get a lot of credit in 3x3, and I want to give a shout out to Coach Piet van Hasselt.
Yeah,
the man,
he's done a great job.
First of all, he's got some Dutch answers too, so I gotta take a little bit of credit here, but not really though. Like, look, coaches in 3x3, not a very known commodity. They're usually around for the national team tournaments. They prepare a team. They don't get to coach during the games. These New Zealand fellas, the Tall Blacks, were so well prepared. To see them work this hard, buy into a kind of a unique system, a unique style of play, and have success with it, to trust in their coach, and to actually mention him in the post-game press conferences, and speak with reverence about his work ethic and the fact that he's meant so much to them. Man, that was just amazing to watch. That gave me goosebumps as a former player as well as a former coach. I think that nail biter against Australia might as well have gone their way, and I think they would have been a gold medalist if that happened. Again, I hope to see more of them. I did reach out to Pete, and he said the main problem we have is the fact that we are even more isolated than the countries you talked about on the last podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the most isolated country in the world, so it's very tough for them to get in on any 3x3 action. Yeah. But I'm very much hoping they get something, man, because this was fun to watch.
Just like I was kind of gushing over the young Australian team after the Champions Cup, this New Zealand team, particularly to Tui Lewis, this kid is exactly what 3x3 needs when we're trying to kind of pin down those future stars, those next 3 to 5 years. I think you put him on the world tour tomorrow, and he's a star this year, bro. I think that some players just have it. You can see their feel for the game, their instincts, his maturity. Like, he made the right decisions too. He also was getting teammates involved. He wasn't forcing too many shots. He's tough. Like, I'm looking at all the measurables of this kid. I'm like, yo, where the bleep has this kid been, bro? Like, this dude is nice. So, had it not been for Australia's size, shout out to John Stife too, by the way. Like, John Dylan Stife, he got 3 or 4 names, but he hit the game winner, big body, kind of bowled his way to the rim. But that was the difference. Credit to Australia, but I think I think that New Zealand team certainly would have won gold had they won that game. It was 1-2. It was 1-2 in the men's competition. It was New Zealand, it was Australia. China played well. But it was those
Agreed.
two, and had it not been for Ozawa's fireworks, we already know who the MVP would have been. I think Tatui deserved MVP if Ozawa hadn't performed that way, even if they didn't win gold. Even if
Agreed.
they didn't win gold.
Agreed.
Now, all right, let me give you somebody I was disappointed in, though.
Well, let me get one more thing in here, though.
Okay, go ahead. My bad.
New Zealand, all four of these fellas will represent possibly on the Under-23 World Cup, and I'll be hosting that, and I'm very excited about that. They are 22 and 21 years of age, bro. Like, they have a very bright future.
You lucky dog. You lucky dog, you.
We'll see if that will if I call myself lucky. I'll give you a call after those 92 games, if I have a voice left. But yeah, no. But I'm very excited to be seeing them. I hope they're going to be there. Look, I'm not sure if they're going to be qualified yet, but I very much hope they're going to be there. Yeah, go ahead. Disappointments. I have some. Yeah.
Right. We started off on the high notes. All right. Disappointments. There were a couple. New Zealand women's team. I know they suffered a serious injury. One of the key players, and them dropping out. That was probably the biggest shock in the women's tournament for me. Man, I hated seeing Claren get injured for the Philippines. I thought the way they play. See, that's two-sided for me. So I was disappointed to not see them go further. I wanted them to go further, and I don't cheer for teams, but it was hard not to cheer for them. But also, I think it was a huge positive in the way what it showed about the grit of that team to play without Camille Claren after that knee injury, and to survive as long as they did. Okay, so I'll leave that there. I was disappointed in the Kangaroo men, even though they won the event. One in particular, Alex Higgins-Tisha. What he showed me at the Champions Cup, I said, this is the next MVP. This dude right here, he came out so flat, boss. He seemed disinterested. He wasn't engaged in the game. He was missing shots that were normally makeable. I mean, I just like, does the dude want to be here? Like, yo, I've hyped him up. Now my rep is on the line because I'm like, yo, y'all gotta see this dude. Y'all gotta watch this dude. He comes out there. I think he might have scored 2 points the first game, and the second game he was quiet as well. He played much better on day 6. So once we got to the quarters and beyond, he stepped his game up, and he had a couple vicious dunks.
No, I did see that.
Yeah. So I don't want to just bag on him. Completely, but the way he started the tournament, and I think his total body of work on that stage should have been better. Like, to me, he's the best player on that team. He's better than Dylan Stith, in my opinion. He's more versatile. He should have been number 1 player on that team, but Stith actually was, and I was disappointed.
The main difference is Stith brought the fire. Stith brought all of the emotions. He brought the hustle, and he brought hard work. And Higgins-Tisha, I agreed with you. Like, I first game I tuned in, I was like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Like, I saw him dominate competition, and now he just whatever.
Yeah.
And look, this might be kind of the transition lesson that he still has to learn, right? Because in 5-on-5 basketball, and it may just be me, but if you play a team that you know you're going to beat or that you have a very high chance of beating, then you may not play as hard. In 3x3 basketball, you can't do that because that will set the tone for the rest of the tournament for you, and you have to kind of work yourself out of that rut. That doesn't work. Now, I'll counter myself by saying they had one of the tougher pools, and maybe if not the toughest pool in the entire tournament, and he still didn't come. He came out flat, and that actually. I mean, let's transition into another disappointment here. I think that's why the Mongolian men were out of the tournament, because Japan lost that game to Japan.
Yeah.
Which I think they should have won.
Yes.
And because of that, they end up in the quarterfinals facing a Mongolia squad that we usually expect to see on the podium. But now
Yes.
they face the winners in the quarterfinals and lose in a horribly played game, by the way. That was not great. And even so, I expected a little bit more from Mongolia. So to me,
Oh,
a few notes. One, actually, I like the new big guy, Dulkun Gankuyag.
yeah.
He replaced Davasambu at the last moment. I don't mind him. He's now
Yeah.
added as a sixth player on the Ulaanbaatar squad, actually. So we're going to
Is
be seeing more of him.
I'm calling him the Mongoliath.
Yeah, I like that one. That was nice.
Either that or the Mongolian.
No,
Well,
I liked, and I liked his
Mong-
game too. He missed some
yeah,
easy
yeah.
ones. I'll say that, but he wasn't shy about taking shots. So I like that. The Archer though, 5.7 points per game, 27% from long range is good, but not great. I think they need great from him, so we'll see if that improves. To me, the one on this iteration of Team Mongolia that really I think should have been more aggressive, should have been more assertive.
Inkbot.
Odgonja Gold
Whoa! No, hold
Yes.
on, boss. No, bro. It was Dogun, man. Inkbot is supposed to be the lead lion until Aryan Bowl takes over. I thought this was actually going to be Aryan Bowl's year where he came out and he put his stamp on it, like, yo, this is my team now. I'm going to show you why. Dogun, this might be the first time I've seen this from him. He disappeared. He disappeared in group play, man. He averaged less points per game than Ogonjagal. He wasn't active. He wasn't engaged. He wasn't his normal self to me. So we agree to disagree. I agree with you as for a huge disappointment for Mongolia in that tournament. But as far as the players, man, I put Dogun as the most disappointing performance, and then Salked next.
I get what you're coming from. I think Dolgan Ekbot in a team with a known scorer tends to fall back into that role of kind of just pure defender, which I'm fine with. You can't have a new guy in Dolgan Gankuyag come in the squad and try to be the secondary creator, which he did well, by the way. So I don't want to take away from that. And I think Odgonja Gold Socked, as far as skills, he's a very unorthodox but a skilled offensive player. And for him to only take 11 shots in this tournament, and that's what he did. So he went 4 of 6 from 1, 2 of 5 from 2. Those are good statistically, like percentage-wise, good stat lines. It's not enough shots for me. And
Yeah.
I don't know why he wouldn't be more involved. Like that's it
Well,
may have just been by design. Who knows?
I'll tell you why I think he wasn't more involved, because he wasn't so active on the glass. A lot of his scoring is dirty work. They're never going to feature him in the post. They're not going to throw it down to him like they would throw to Davasambu. So he's crashing the boards. He's scoring off other players drawing attention. He gets a quick slip, boom. Then he can get up to 4, sometimes 5 points a game. I didn't see the activity from him. That they were a big disappointment, and I would even throw the Mongolian women in there too. I thought that they behaved a little bit out of character. I thought the Kulan lost her cool a couple of times, and they should have performed better. And I'll throw another one in there too. Iran. That team to me was built, bro. I picked them as a podium finisher.
Same.
They were built to finish top 3, compete for gold there. I thought they lost their composure. They got frustrated. They started chirping with the officials, and they obviously ran into that buzzsaw. They weren't expecting to lose to Japan, and then they learned the man's name, Ryo Ozawa. And I think after that game, they were a little bit on their heels, and they never fully recovered. They stopped focusing on their system. They stopped featuring Rahimi in the post. Their guard kind of slowed down a little bit, and it was a wrap for them. But I was disappointed to not see them on the podium.
Yeah, there's a saying in Dutch, and I'll translate it directly here. They were playing like loose sand, and what that means is there's no no connection between them, and especially in not the Japan game, but the Australia game, the second pool game, they had to win. They dissolved into Arganjan-Poor wild 2-point shots.
Wow, bro.
They were going one-on-one, weren't giving the ball to each other, and it was ugly. And again, this is a squad that with, as you said, with the ingredients to go far, they ended up coming into one of the toughest pools in tournament play, which is rough. But instead of falling apart, that's when you get more cohesive. That's when you bond as a team. So I hope going forward, they learn from this, because I enjoy watching them play. I'd like to see more of them next year, hopefully in a easier pool, obviously, but also with more togetherness, because I think that's what got them a medal last year.
I'd like to see them keep that. I think that, obviously, it goes without saying, the longer that you can keep that nucleus together, that core, and they develop that cohesion and that chemistry, they're just, naturally they're just going to get better and better. The thing is, they're already really good, and they hadn't had that much time together. But the federations have to commit, and I know that there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of things that go into being able to keep a core, right? But man, when you got a foundation like that to build on, this is another team that could be really special and take their success beyond Asia, bring it to the world stage. That, after all, that is why you want to invest in 3x3 as a nation, right? It's not to win the Asia Cup or to win, in your region. You want to show your best to the world. Eventually, you want to represent at the Olympics and take home a medal. I do think that they've shown the potential to be a team that could compete on the Olympic stage, given the time, given the experience. The commitment's got to be there from the federation, from the country, and from the players. So, this one was an L for them. They got to regroup, and I hope to see that group back again.
Yeah, and I think, again, just to kind of end the Asia Cup discussions here, I think for me that goes for a lot of these teams, right? But Thailand women, I hope to see more of them. I know they play in the women's series, so happy to be seeing them. Hopefully the Mongolia women recover from this. And we saw Kulan take a huge leap last year. Kind of take a step back now in this tournament. And we'll see, maybe with more training going into the regular season, that she can pick it back up on the men's end. New Zealand men, Australia men, even the Chinese guys that we saw. Like I hope to see more of them throughout the year, not just at the Asia Cup, but on the pro circuit as well. And I think that's what this whole tournament has left me with. The fact that, again, I'm ready for the season to start. I'm ready for these teams to hop on and make a difference and show us different countries in the world can make waves in this game of 3x3. And two, it's really feeling like the season is about to start. So let me transition a little bit here.
All right.
First, I wanna help you, because I know you've been in Asia a lot, and I know you don't pay attention to the World Tour season until your preparations start, and that's probably a couple weeks away. A week or so away.
Yep.
So I want to help you. I've been checking in on the light quests and the quests and the pro leagues and stuff. There's a couple of teams that already have 6 World Tours to their name. Yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah.
So
who?
I'll get to that. So let me list a few accomplishments here quickly from teams that have played in several leagues. First, we had the French Pro League over the last few weeks. Rifa won the first stop, qualified to Amsterdam, which is huge because it's only like an hour and a half drive from, Antwerp, which is their hometown. Interesting thing out of that tournament is they played with Thibaut Vervoort, who's still not validated for them on the website.
I did see that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm curious to see how that goes in the future, if he sticks with him or not. They did validate Vic van Oostenrijk, but Vervoort's still not officially on the FIBA 3x3 page listed on Team Rifa. So, we'll see. But at least they're going to be in Amsterdam, which is a semi-home game for them. I'm very excited to have them there. And I'm actually hoping Vervoort's going to be there. We'll see, though. Then from the same Super League, in the final stop, Partizan picked up a spot in Lausanne. Partizan actually been doing well in preseason. We had a winter quest here in Amsterdam last Friday, as we record this early April, in which Utrecht picked up a spot to the Amsterdam Masters, and then Team Amsterdam itself got the wild card from the host. So both Dutch teams will represent.
How did Dimes play? Dimes play in that tournament. I saw his IG post.
No, yeah, he played well.
Okay.
Even though he's not sleeping much, you know,
I
fresh
was going
dad
to
as
say,
well.
like, I was curious how the new dad hooped in that tournament. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's now 5 teams that
So
you.
we've what do you mean 5 teams to Amsterdam? You mean?
Yeah, well, no, you've. I'm keeping track. You said there have been 5 teams that have qualified to 6 world tours.
No, there's 2 teams that have 6 world tours. I'll get to that in
Okay.
just a second here. I checked in on the 3x3 XE leagues in Japan, and from there, 2 teams qualified to a few stops. First, Hangzhou. I gotta throw out a warning for you for this Hangzhou squad, man. They've changed up the team, right?
Okay.
They have Jovanovic from, as you might remember, Podgorica Kodio from last year, the big guy
Yeah.
with the mustache.
Yep.
He's now on their team. They got a new cat, Alexander Lazic. And this is a guy. We will see him on some top fives. I'll tell you
Really?
right now. He's still on the Bosnian 5-on-5 team, apparently transitioned into 3x3 in Russia last year. I have no clue where this cat came from, but he has some bounce. He has some real bounce. I like him with the squad they have. They also had another guard with him. I can't forget. I can't remember his name. He's not validated, the guard. He was also very good, but we'll get to that if he gets validated. But Hangzhou is going to be a team to look out for this year, and they qualified to both Chengdu and Ulaanbaatar. So they picked up 2 masters, which is good for them. Lausanne, who was also in that tournament and lost a nail-biter to Hangzhou in the finals. And I would recommend people to check this out. I know it's not, masters level or challenger level, but game technically wise, it was. It was a wonderful game. Lausanne also qualified to Chengdu. I'll get to some other Lausanne news later. I have something for you.
Okay, because I was curious what their squad it looks like, but I'm sure you're gonna drop
Well,
that.
because this is not an official tournament, so they can still mix and match players, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they were playing with Zamoyski out there. I think they were playing with West. They were playing with Gilles. But we'll get to that. But these you have to, your team has to have 2 players that get to the other tournament from these. So it's not you're not locked into your pro circuit rosters to be per se. This past weekend, there was a quest in the country of Guyane. I'm sure you know where that's at.
Of course. Guyane.
Yeah, Guyana or Guyane, wherever you wanted to place that. It's It's next to Venezuela.
Okay, I know where that's at.
See, there you go.
It was the pronunciation that threw me off.
All right, cool. I may or may not have pronounced that wrong. We'll see.
I think Guyana.
Guyana, cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Carolina, so former San Juan, picked up a spot to Edmonton.
Okay.
And then there's a Latvian quest that was finished for a spot at Marseille that was won by, and let me try to pronounce this, Team Gargždai.
Gargždai.
Yeah, the Gargždai team is not going to tell you much, but let's say that Tarvidas is on that squad.
Wow.
So, so with all this, as well as some replacement and performance spots, now we have 2 teams that have 6 masters a pop, which are Oob, obviously, because they started out with, the 4 hard seeds, and then I think they picked up 2 performance slots from the Champions Cup. The winner got 2 World Tour spots, as well as Amsterdam, who have gotten a wild card to Amsterdam, a replacement slot to Chengdu, and a performance slot to Abu Dhabi.
Nice.
All the other teams have 3
yeah.
at most, but this is a good start to the season for both these teams, especially as you know, there's, for now, and we'll see if that changes in the next 2 weeks, and we should know. But for now, there's only 16 Masters, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we've been known to add 1 or 2 right at the buzzer.
Yeah, my guess is there's going to be 2 more, but we'll see.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, that's cool. Like that. Okay, that doesn't shock me. Like those are the 2 teams that people want to see most. I mean, that is the new top tier rivalry in 3x3. It's the Dutch and the Serbians, but now it's a legitimate rivalry. Like this is legit now. Like okay, so good. We'll see. We'll see them the most for now on the World Tour. Good.
Yeah, for sure. Then also a shout out to Challenger season starting early this year. We got the Bouding Challenger popping up before we open up the season in Utsunomiya at the end of April here, where you and me will be present. April 12th and 13th, the Bouding Challenger. And a first look at a cool bunch of teams. Miami will play, Amsterdam, Lehman, Chongming. Chongming actually validating. We'll get to that. It's part of my news item that we will hop into.
Okay.
As well as our first look at Utrecht, former Dusseldorf, who are now called the Skyliners, and Bordeaux. And, let's use this as a little transition. We'll get a look at Quinn Hongdao, who added a nice player. So, what I want to do with you now, I've gathered kind of the news from the last couple of weeks. This is team news. This is player news.
All right.
And I want to get your opinion on this. I will pop a news item to you, and you can give me your take, or you can tell me if it's news or no news.
Okay.
And you can do all three. So you can give your take on why you think it's news or no news. But I'm curious. So I think I have 8 or 9 items. And let's start with what I ended this last section with. So, Team Quinn Hongdao, and I don't know if you know them. You may or may not have seen them on the FIBA 3x3 socials because they put some street ball in the Chinese 3x3.
Okay.
You saw the cat pass the ball off the back of his head to his teammate behind him for a shot.
I missed that one.
Well, that's Team Quinn Hongdao for you.
Okay.
They are the Chinese and one mixtape ballers, I think. Not very successful yet in tournaments, but they add, in possibly the most random move of the year, they add Leonardo Branquinho from the Brazilian national team. The guy with the stash, the guard. And look, this is a good player. He played on Team Uberlandia the last few years with Ferros and Melo. We saw him at the World Cup in 2023, as you remember, where he was probably the best player on one of the most shocking teams of that tournament, with Brazil coming in 4th out of nowhere. And now he's taking his talents to China.
Okay, so that's interesting. Is it news? No, because, Branquinho is not exactly an A-lister. And hell, I didn't even know the damn name of this team. No, we're gonna put that in the no news category. Okay, what's the next one?
All right, cool. Let's keep it going. Another Chinese team validates this one, Chongming, a late validation for them, featuring Las Manas, Mieses, and Forte, as well as Xiang and Zhang from the Chinese team that played the Asia Cup. They get a wild card for the Chengdu Masters. Is it news?
Yes. I think anytime that triple-headed monster who were Masters winners last year is on the tour, like, one of the big conversations going into the season is always like, yo, is Mieses and Las Manas, are they going to play this year? This is always one of those topics of discussion. Are they still invested in 3x3? Have they won enough, to where, their interests are now elsewhere? Yes, this is newsworthy. I'm damn anxious to see them in Chengdu. I think that's where they won last year. Did they win in Chengdu? No,
they won Manama.
Was it Manama?
They won Manama.
Okay.
I clearly remember this because we sat on a boat to the venue.
Okay.
But I'll say this. I actually, look, we know the core of Las Manas, Mieses, and Forte can be good. I don't mind the addition of Zhang, who to me could be a Forte replacement.
Yes, Zhang was nice. He performed
Zhang
great.
Is good.
He's big body, bro. Great touch. He's good in the post. I like him. It's gonna be interesting to see that mix because he's not gonna touch the ball, bro. He's not gonna touch the rock. Like Forte is getting the touches. I don't know if there's enough ball to go around. So, but Zhang he's gonna be good on the boards. He's gonna be reliable as a, I guess, 4th option. But Mieses, Las Manas, Forte, they're going to get all the touches, man. I don't know if his talents, we're going to get a chance to really see his talents on that team.
I do. I think he's going to be kind of a break glass in case of Forte injury or something else type of player. I don't know if he will play with Forte. I think he will play if Forte's not playing, and I like him for that. So I think he's insurance.
Okay. I like him for that for sure.
See.
Yeah, that's newsworthy. Yeah.
Cool,
okay, we got
cool.
one here and one here. All right, what we got?
All right. I'm gonna pick here. Team Toulouse adding a sixth player, and it's a very well-known Frenchman. It's Raphael Wilson.
Newsworthy.
Making the transfer from Team Lausanne to Team Toulouse, for the artist formerly known as Team Paris.
I
works.
like it a lot. Not only is it newsworthy, I think it's headline worthy because I'm a Raphael Wilson fan, bro. I love his game, man. And listen, now I guess he should feel more at home. He's playing with the fellow Frenchman, a talented Toulouse squad. How he fits in to what they want to do, how consistent he'll be has always been the question with Raphael Wilson. But joining Team Paris, bro, like to me that's an all-star team now. Like you throw Raphael Wilson on that joint. Yeah. That's a big deal. That's a headline.
Let's see if they can perform better than they did at the Champions Cup where they acted as Team France, huh? But I agree. It is a great addition, and I'm curious to see whether they can kind of add a new dimension to their squad because, in my opinion, he right away becomes one of the better one-on-one options they have.
Oh, for the dude at the first 2 months of the season last year, he was averaging 8 a game. I think he got not disinterested, but they got frustrated. That collection of players that they had last year with Malik and Raphael and Wes and like, was it ever going to work? I know it started off well and they had a couple runners-up finishes last year, but was it ever going to be sustainable? I don't know. I think that was a marriage headed for the courthouse to begin with, and the breakup was necessary, and now he's got new life. And I think he'll be in his comfort zone. That's big. That's a big one.
All right, so I'll enter another one that I think you will put in the news category. Another team validated a sixth player, Team Liman, and it's not Stefan Kojic. I can name anybody here, but the dude that they validated, his name is Nemanja Zigan, who was on Team Zivinice last year. He played in one challenger and averaged 7 points per game, but.
Okay.
So far in this season, look, one challenger, 7 points per game in 2 games.
That's sounding better. It's sounding better now. Okay.
It's. I don't think he's a bad player. All I'm saying is, we will, for the first time since 2016, it looks like we will not be seeing Mihailo Vasic and Stefan Kojic do a handoff at the high post.
Which is going to be shocking. It's not going to feel the same. Like, this is on topic, but a little bit off the rails. Like, I hate seeing drastic change so abrupt. You want to be prepared for it, man. It's like you just get used to seeing Lehman a certain way. I got used to seeing the league a certain way. And I think the evolution is, it's natural and you have to embrace it. But there's certain franchises and certain players that they just become household names and you turn... I'll use Riga as an example. Watching Riga after Las Manas and Miezas left, even when Chavars and Krumlin, it was such a shock, man. It didn't feel the same. So for me to see Lehman this year potentially without Vasic and Kojic,
Vasic is still on the squad. Vasic is still there.
Vasic is still on the squad, but not obviously together. Man, why'd you have to hit me with that, boss? There's a little bit of a tear, I think, that's starting to... No, wait,
it's depressing news, huh?
Yeah, that's just an eye booger. Never mind. No, it's not depressing, but it's going to be odd, man. We're witnessing a transition. Like, because Vasquez's got, what, a couple more years? I can't see Vasquez playing much longer. Kojic already seems to be on his way out the door. So it's...
Where do you think he ends up, though? Because that's the big question out of this to me. Look, I figured this was the case when they didn't validate him to start, season in February. But now I'm just wondering, like, is he the most coveted free agent still out there at this moment? Because Vervoort is at least playing with Rifa, so we know he's connected to the squad. We'll see where he ends up. But Stefan Kojic, he's the second leading scorer of all time in 3x3 basketball on the pro circuit, and he doesn't have a squad yet.
Yeah, but he's an alpha dog, and he could potentially ruffle some feathers. Maybe a change of scenery is good for him, but I would say for me, if I'm GM of a team, I would actually say Vervort is probably number one in terms of the free agents. I know he's connected, very likely going to have some association with River. We know the details aren't confirmed yet, but if he was a true free agent because of Vervort's age, I would say I would go with Vervort, but Koya is number two, bro. He's gonna end up on a squad. He's like somebody who needs a James Harden instant offense
He's a
player.
system. Yeah, he's a system.
He needs a system, but when
No,
Koyich
he
comes
is
on,
a system.
yes, but when Koyich comes on your team, it complete. He becomes your system
Yeah.
because he's that potent of a shooter. How many teams want to disrupt a system they're trying to build right now for a 30? I don't know how old Koya is now, but he's long in the tooth, and with that offense might come a little bit of argumentativeness. I made that word up, right? But I'm trying to be delicate with it. That's the decision that they have to make. You see what I mean? But hell, I'd take him on my team. I ain't gonna lie.
Me too. Look,
I'd
hey,
take, him, I'd take him on my team any day.
look. My guess would be he ends up probably in China somewhere on a Chinese team. But there's still a world in which he joins UB, which I mean, this is not news. Obviously, this is just guesswork here, and I don't think it will happen. But it could, and it would be fun. But anyway,
What about a Partizan?
it could. Yeah, but why would
Could
you
you-
move from Lima to Partizan though?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm trying to think of where I could see him playing, where I could see him fitting that would make sense. But you're right. He could very well end up on a Chinese team, and they surround him with who knows who, and he shoots as many shots as he wants, and
Yeah,
nobody
well, he
on the
was doing
team
that
is gonna-
anyways.
yeah, and nobody on the team would dare challenge him. He'd
Nope.
he'd be chewing ass every game, all game, until
yeah.
retirement.
You
Okay,
see that beard mumbling all the time. Anyway,
but that's newsworthy. That's newsworthy.
all
Yeah.
right. I got one that I'm split on. You mentioned Riga. We have a new team, Riga, and I'll tell you where they came from. Kandavate Riba was the 13th or 14th placed team last year, and they have split up. They snuck into the World Tour Finals last year, as you remember.
Yep.
They still exist, but they're left with Zigmars Raimo, Edgars Krumins, as well as Marcus Mamaj, who is member of the Latvian under-21 team. He played on Team Marupe last year. Then a second team popped up, Team Riga, with Francis Laches and Martins Krumins, the other Krumins, mustache baby Krumins.
Like him. Like his game a lot.
Like him a lot. They are joined by another under 21 team member and Marupe team member, Martins Svidrins. So kind of an unknown as well. Then Carlis Apsitis, who was also on Kandava, as you remember.
Okay.
He joins forces with Marcis Oces, who you remember from the Europe Cup, as well as Strelnex, who's been in Latvian 3x3 for what seems like 20 years. And they are on Team Adazi, and there is absolutely no sign of Gluditis, who was a monster last year and just disappeared off the face of the earth and supposedly went back to 5-on-5 after just a few tournaments, which is I'm very upset about. Gluditis, please come back. I mean, we like you out here. Anyway, 3 Latvian teams for the first time in a very long time that could make waves. I don't know if they spread the talent out too thin, and the question to you is this news?
Oh, it is news. And I think you hit it on the head. I think they did spread the talent out too thin. And I think the most glaring issue is that Gluditis isn't on one of those teams, because Gluditis can make any one of the 3 teams that you just named instantly a B minus C plus team to an A minus team. Maybe, I mean, he's a game changer, this dude. Like, I was sitting there listening to you, rattle off the names and listen to the teams, and I'm like, when is he going to say Gluditis? When is he going? Okay, he's at the last team now. I'd have still. What? I like Apsidis. I like Osis. Like, I like these guys, man. Like, but I think that out of all those players, Gluditis is probably he's the best player of them all. He should be on the team. I think that he's got 5-on-5 obligations. I know that, the past couple of years he's been torn. He told me he loves 3x3, loves to play the game, but that 5-on-5 pool was still strong. I'm guessing they got him, and that's the reason why he's not playing. But look, the Latvians seem to be pretty serious. I think that they aren't reserved to the victories of past, winning the Olympic gold and European champs and World Tour final champions. I think that, they could have just said, okay, we did our thing, that's enough. But no, they seem like they're retooling. That's newsworthy. Watch out for Latvia. They seem to be coming with something.
Yes, sir. All right. More news items. Let's see. Let me go down the list here. This is actually a double news item. We didn't mention this yet, but it's been out for a little bit. He's still validated for Team Amsterdam, but Arvin Slaughterhouse, the Slaughterman himself, has retired from the game of 3x3 basketball.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say something else.
No, he is retired from the game. Again, validated for Team Amsterdam just to get his points for this season. No longer practicing, no longer with the squad. Released an official statement speaking on his great career both in 5-on-5 and 3x3. Ends on the high of highs with, after 2 Olympic cycles, a gold medal at the Olympics, a World Tour Finals win, a storybook ending for what has become one of the greats in 3x3 in my book. Not because of his scoring or shooting per se, but also because his work as kind of an extension of coaching staff and trainers within the team and the work he's done there. So, first of all, personally, I want to wish him good luck. I hope he's going to move on to greener or other pastures. I'm not sure if they're going to be greener from what he's done last year, but I'm sure he's going to come up with some new ventures for him to succeed in as well. So I think that on its own is big news, right? So I think we can both agree on that. And I'll
absolutely.
let you have your word on Arvin here. But also take into account, and you can get going on whether you think that's news or not. That means Amsterdam's left with 4 players.
Yes, and I'm sure you got some inside info, but let me give Arvin his flowers. Absolutely, that to me is maybe the most newsworthy item of the off season. So you want to talk about one of the cornerstones? I mean, that's played the game for years. He's played it the right way. He's been a warrior. We always give him praise for his defense and his effort every year. Been a knockdown shooter. I think even last year he shot close to 40% from 2. And there is no better way to walk away from the game. You're talking about on a high note. Like that's drop the mic type shit right there. That's okay. Olympics, World Tour final, and he wasn't just an ornament. He was active. He was a key contributor in helping Amsterdam have that success. And I think he was, you would know better than me, but I think he was also a great player coach with Worthy and helping Worthy transition into becoming a better 3x3 player. But that's who Arvin is. That's who he's been as a player. He never wants the spotlight. He never wants to shine. He's a team guy. His 3x3 acumen is next level. I think maybe the transition for him is to go into coaching next naturally. He's obviously going to have camps. He's got the credentials. He's an Olympian. I saw it. I still got to reach out to him, but I was down with the surgery and everything. But man, one of the greats, man. It's gonna be different not seeing Arvin out there, but he better show up to some of the tournaments. I damn well better see him at the Amsterdam Masters. Or you tell him I got 2 of these for him. But one of the greats, man. Huge news this offseason. So.
Yeah, and with him, we mentioned this, I think, on one of the previous pods, Julian Jaring also stepping down. So Team Amsterdam, no longer the Amsterdam of yesteryear. Now they are playing with, obviously, Worthy. They're playing with Brian Alberts. They're playing with Jan Driessen. They're playing with Maarten Bouknecht. So they lose a lot of size. They lose a lot of switchability. A lot is going to come down to Brian Albert's newfound defense that he showed off last year in the World Tour Finals, and Maarten Bouknecht taking a new step.
Well, the spotlight's going to be on Bouknecht, and there's a lot of people in the league that like Bouknecht, including me. He's a knockdown shooter. He's tough, but if we're going to be honest, when you're trying to replace an Arvin Slaughter, I care more about your defense than your offense. I think that Amsterdam's going to have plenty of offensive firepower. Worthy's the spoon that stirs the soup with them. Brian Alberts has got to be consistent. This is the year where, he's clearly, to me, he's the second option. Bouknecht, knock down open shots, bro. But we need that we need defense. I got some questions about his size, especially when you talked about switchability. I do have some questions about how well he'll be able to hold his ground. Gets caught in the switch in the post. Even how well he's going to defend on the perimeter. I got no questions about his offense. I think I'm confident in his offensive ability. So will Amsterdam be as potent as they've been and not having that player coach of Arvin too? So it's gonna be interesting. Do they take a step back? Are they better because maybe they get a little bit more offense? And I'm not even completely sold on them getting more offense with Bouknecht than they got with Arvin, because Arvin still could knock them down. I don't know. This one's a pickle for me. I'm curious about how that's actually going to turn out.
Let me tell you what they'll miss most from Arvin. Besides his coaching, besides his shooting, Arvin was a player that could handle multiple roles. And in certain lineups, he was the main screener. And he was actually very good at durable handoffs and screens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about it, for a quarter of the game with this game of 3x3, you're on the court with supposedly your worst lineup. In the case of Amsterdam, defensively, that would be a lineup with Worthy, Brian Alberts, and Maarten Bouknecht, where they don't have any size, where they're kind of undersized, actually. Apparently, I guess they're switchable, but they're not as physical as they used to be in the past. Who the hell is going to screen in that lineup? Are they going to just go into overdrive and play like the highest octane of offenses like they did in Wuxi last year, where actually Arvin Slaughter was still a part of the squad?
Yeah.
Could be. We'll see. But it leaves that team with a bunch of questions, as well as, and of course I got my ear to the ground here, who's going to be players number 5 and 6 in the Pro League, the Winter Quest, whatever, last Friday they played with Daan van Tilburg, who was on Team Utrecht last year.
Yeah, big guy.
Big guy.
Yeah, I know
big
Van
guy
Tilburg.
who can shoot as well, so he kind of fits. And
what about Dellison?
He's on Utrecht.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's on Utrecht. Oh, see?
He's validated for Team Utrecht. So Daan van Tilburg, the only player out of those two teams from last year that's not retired and not validated. And I think they're going to try to wait and see approach if they need him or not. And if not, they might bump him to Utrecht. We'll figure that out as we go. I think offensively he fits the mold. He can screen, he can do durable handoffs, he can score, he can shoot. Defensively, he's shown that his feet are slightly slower than they should be. Maybe he worked on that in the offseason. We'll see. I think talent-wise it's a huge dip from what you had. So we'll see. There's some other names out there that you won't know, so that we'll get to whenever they join the team that could be a part of that Amsterdam roster. But there's some concerns going into the season.
I got to see the farm system because, Utrecht, I mean, are they really going to be able to compete? I mean, they got Dimes on there who's going to be, I mean, he's the best player on the team, I'm assuming. I don't know their full four.
So right now, they have validated Nesta Agassi, Norbert Telissen, Dimeo van der Horst, and Shea Adetunji.
Okay, no disrespect to them, but that's a C plus type squad. Nothing too above average with that team. Amsterdam is, it's Amsterdam and it's Oop, right? You know, I think the talent is it's pretty. I think it's one sided, man. I think you take the very best player from Utrecht, Dimes, and you put him on Amsterdam.
I think they may have had that discussion.
I'm just saying, like, to me, I'm trying to make sense of it. Like, look, go all in on the A squad that can compete to win damn near everything. Or maybe you lack a little, so I know there's more that goes into this decision making that I would even know about, but naturally for me that would have been the move. So it's a question mark. But I don't expect Utrecht to do a lot this year. But maybe that gives them some motivation to surprise me. I welcome them rubbing my nose in it. If they come out there and they start kicking ass and they say, "Yeah, we heard you say that you didn't think we was gonna do nothing," I will humbly tip my cap to them and say, and eat my crow. I would do it.
It's going to depend on a few things. I got some insight into this. I think major key is going to be whether Shea Adetunji can bring himself to a consistently good level. I know he can be a really good player. I've coached him in the past, but he's been very inconsistent as a member of Team Utrecht, which he's very young still, so that's not a knock on him. But I think if he can become more consistent in his shooting as well as in his playmaking, they could be good, but they might add a new ball handler as well. An unknown.
Shay's got to make his layups. Shay, you missed too many layups, man. I love you. You got to make your damn layups. And then maybe I'll start to believe a little bit more. But he needs some work. I've been slightly disappointed in the times that I've watched him play. He's gonna hate me now. Okay. I'll move. Go to the next.
Go on. Next item. Next item. All right. Cool. I got. I think two more. One. We no longer have a team Podgorica Kodio, a team that was enjoyable. I'd say Podgorica.
I'm messing with you, but
yeah, I know.
Further emphasize.
Look, man, it's been an enjoyable team. They made some noticeable runs. They came in fourth in Marseille last year. Constanta, you remember, in 2023.
Yeah, Constanta. Runners up. Okay, but outside of that,
that was it. They were mainly disappointments after that. But anyway, Jovanovic to Hangzhou, Ivanovic now on Team Taipei of all places. It's two guys, Rajcevic and forget Vujadinovic, still not on any teams. So no Podgorica Kodio this year.
Yo, Rajcevic is a good offseason pickup. I would consider him if I was GM. He's a tough guard. Like that's a little bit of a shocker.
Yep, agreed. Is it news though?
No.
Okay.
That's only the second one that's not newsworthy.
I've been on my stuff, man.
Yeah,
I got one more for you. I got one more.
What you got?
We now have the royalist of royal squads in 3x3. A second Swiss team popped up, and I'm not talking about Team Fribourg. A second Swiss team popped up on the websites, featuring King Wes, Malika Lujawecki,
okay,
and Bikramjit Gill, the bearded king. So we now have two kings on a squad. What's good, 3x3? They are royal. They may be royally screwed, but they need some more players.
I think that you hit it on the head. Yo, hold on. Okay. That's interesting. Shout out to the bearded king. He's an OG, bro. At the first tournament, my first year, I covered 3x3. He was hooping with the general. They played all the way to like the semis of the World Tour final that year. Like, I got so much respect for the bearded king, Bikramjit Gill, and King West too. Facts, right? And M. Holla, Malika Lujawecki's a homie too. I don't like that collection of players at all, bro. It don't even sound right to me. Like, okay, so Lujawecki's your ball handler. You've got essentially the same player in Bikramjit,
Yep.
and King West, and who's the fourth?
No one.
I mean,
They
who's the
haven't validated the fourth player yet. But
uh
judging by what the Swiss have been doing, there is going to be a tinge of reclamation project going to be. I mean, look, now they have Martinez, who kind of came out of nowhere and joined their team 2 years ago. Of course, Jonathan Dubas, who is Swiss, so I like his addition. They got a 39-year-old Zamoyski on Team Lausanne. They got Falun Yang, which is you don't notice. Oh, you actually do notice, Kat. He was the young big kid on the Spanish national team that played in the OQTs last year. That
Yeah.
he would dunk everything, but that was mainly it too. Couldn't score from outside of 2 feet around the basket. So he's now on Team Lausanne. Then there's a second Swiss team, Lugano, Molteni, Halujaweki, and Gil. That's it. If you step on the court with those 3 guys, you're not winning any games. I hope they add 2 more players. I'm curious to see which players that we have not mentioned on this podcast that are probably not Swiss will be a part of that. It's interesting.
We're gonna put that one in the not newsworthy category. And those my guys, man. They gonna be mad at me, but no, just not, for me, no. I would like to see them in the league, but in different situations. Not that collection. Like bring Bick. I think Bick can bring with his experience in 3x3, that player coach, that toughness, like big body. He can still be of value to a team. So can Wes. Malik in the right situation, I think, could thrive, but that ain't the right situation. That situation is. You remember that marriage headed for the courthouse? That this is to me. No.
To me, they need. I don't know if Wes and Gil playing in the same squad in the tournament is going to work. Their skill sets are very redundant to me. Like they literally do the same thing.
Same thing.
And then Halujaweki as a ball handler, I think he's a very good creator. I don't know if he's a good passer though.
What's going to happen if Malik isn't handling the ball?
Oh no, that's going to hurt my eyes. So let's not even.
See what I'm saying? Like no, just no.
No.
Who put this together?
Now look, I think this is part of, and this is me guessing. I have no inside information. I don't talk to these fellas regularly, but I think that the core of Swiss 3x3 basketball for years has been Gilles Martin and Wes Molteni. And they've been trying to get their country to the Olympics. They've been trying to get their country to the top of the 3x3 standings. And now I think, for everyone in 3x3 that plays at this level, the next Olympics are the big goal. Mm-hmm. I think Wes and Gilles want to have one more go at it. And they've realized they can't do it with just one pro team, because that means they only get one shot at the OQTs, possibly two if a team drops out. They need 2 pro teams. So I think that's what they're doing here. I think that's what the Latvians are doing as well, creating multiple teams. I think that's what the Dutch are doing.
Yeah.
Smart countries have 2 pro teams. They have 2 teams inside the top 20 with this lineup. So I think they picked the right players to get the points.
Yeah.
Now it's a matter of fleshing out that Lugano squad, and it's a matter of can this iteration of Team Lausanne win games? Because I don't know. Zamoyski, I watched the 3x3 XE series. Zamoyski actually played really well out there.
Zebo got to it. Okay.
Zebo got to it, man. Like 7-8 points per game. Like he shot it at a 40+% clip from 2. Look, I think if they get him in the right system, he works. And if they can coach him to take certain shots and not take other shots, that it works as well.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, man.
But I mean, I was pretty hard on Lausanne in their offseason moves too. I think last episode we talked about Zebo and I said,
he's 39, bro.
I'm welcome to the surprise. I'm welcome to the shock. I don't mind eating my words when I make a bad pick or wrong prediction, but just the eye test. I'm no 3x3 savant. I call the game. I'm a commentator. I never played it. I'm not a personnel professional, but just as a ball player, as somebody that's been around basketball for a long time, there's certain groups of players put together that they just don't make sense to me. We'll see. We'll see. But you agree with me on most of it too. So
No, I agree. I agree.
So that gives me comfort to say, okay, Boss is a basketball brain, and he agrees with me on this. So I feel validated.
Yeah, I agree. So I got just two quick hitters left, and that's about it. And we can wrap this up. I don't know if you think this will be news, but again, I'm going to bring this to you as it is the country you were born in. We have a new team from the United States of America, Team Phoenix. I have no clue what to expect. I have no clue who these players are, but they are now validated with guys named Pierce, Kapke, Bizjack, and Harvey.
Well, that's news to me. I've been in Asia, and obviously I had the surgery, had me down for a month. This is brand new news to me, but I'm going to put it in newsworthy simply because it's an American team playing in on the world tour this year with players from the USA, which I am a little bit biased towards. I think we got the best talent in the world when it comes to basketball. I don't know who was behind it, putting this team together. Is this
I have no idea. I know they got a performance spot to the Edmonton Masters. That's all I know.
Okay.
So they have a Masters. They have a Masters already.
Well, we had Team Orlando last year, who
I didn't mind them.
No, I didn't mind them. But there were some other things that I didn't like about them. Talent-wise, I liked them. They gave us some crazy highlights. They were great for social media, right? The interviews were fun and funny, but they didn't know how to play the game. What I don't want to see is another American team that doesn't really have a grasp on how to play the game, that are talented, that can jump, that are fast, that are charismatic, but they don't produce results on the court. If it's going to be an American team playing on the World Tour this year, outside the ones that we're accustomed to, primarily Team Miami and
London, USA, former Princeton.
Yeah, former Princeton, now London. Okay, I'm interested though. And that's newsworthy. That's like 8-2. That's pretty good, boss. 80%.
I'm kind of scared to bring this last one. I think I shouldn't because I don't think you're going to think this is news. I've been on a roll. But you've seen this cat twice in the last two tournaments, so I'm still going to do it. Freddie Lish on Team Thailand, now a part of Team Marbella in Spain. With, some guys that you will have never heard of. De Blas, who was on the Spanish national team. Mayo, who was on the youth teams. You probably don't know the cat.
De Blas sounds familiar though, but the other guy.
Yeah. Diego De Blas was on the Spanish national team. In I think the Europe Cup, as well as Jose Blasquez, who's hopped around to several different teams.
Of course, I know Blasquez.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the best. He's the best player on that team right now.
Yep. Yeah. And so they joined forces. So it's Blasquez, Mayo, De Blas, a guy named Osa Renren Moreno, who I have no clue who he is, and then so randomly Freddie Lish.
Where the hell is Nacho Sanchez at, man? Like, yo, where? See, that's
Nacho
the name.
Sanchez, I've actually talked to Nacho Sanchez, Nacho Martin. You mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm mixing up my bad. Okay,
no, Nacho Martin actually is now an organizer. I talked to him recently. He organized the 3x3 tournament on Ibiza.
Okay, tell him to just give me a couple pair of his shoe collection. That's all I need from him.
Yeah,
number one. Picks. Okay, I would say that this is Lish being added to the team is not newsworthy, but Spain showing more commitment in growing 3x3 is newsworthy because you want to talk about another country loaded with talent that we just haven't seen it translate to 3x3 because obviously 5-on-5 is so huge there. I like to see Spain getting active. I don't know about. Yeah. I hope Lish ain't watching. I talk with Lish, right? And he played well. He played well.
I like him.
He played well. I like him. But I don't think he's going to be a productive ad. I think he's too old. Oh, he's going to kill me. I think that while he is a little bit older, it still doesn't. He still isn't as experienced in 3x3 for his age, right? I love his leadership, but that's a weird ad to me, man. That's a weird ad
so
to
random.
me, man. That's a super weird ad. So
It's so random.
we'll give that one an in between.
All
Kind of newsworthy.
Yeah, and just to add on what you're saying, look, I like the Barcelona squad. They're still, around. This Marbella team, is new. Now we got some Spanish talent with Martinez and Falun Yang on Team Lausanne. I think the one thing we're all waiting for is news was dropped that there's going to be a new Spanish 3x3 team backed by Jose Calderon from a training facility, and I think it's called the Embassy. I forget, but there's some people that have been around 3x3 for a long time that are a part of that project. Let me try to see if I can find names here to give a little bit of shout outs, but I think the main one is Adrian Ortiz, who's been posting a lot of statistics on 3x3 online. He's organizing several tournaments, and he's involved with this as well. Curious to see what's going to happen with that, because again, look, you mentioned it. Spain's kind of like a sleeping giant, right? So they have one of the deepest pools of talent in the world as far as basketball players, and they don't really do much on a global scale in 3x3. If they start doing more, that's interesting. On the organizer side, I'm in touch with a team Under the Rim a lot. They are on Lanzarote. They've done challengers the last few years. They will have a challenger again this year, as well as I think they're doing a women's series and a Nations League. So they're kind of expanding their portfolio. I like that a lot. So Spain, maybe waking up.
Okay, I'm definitely for that. I'm all on board with that. Come on, let's go Spain.
Let's do it.
Vamos.
I want to be back at the World Tour at some point. I played it in Madrid, man. That was my first World Tour ever.
Oh
2012.
Yeah, I love Spain too. Barcelona, you got to say Barcelona, and Madrid.
I believe you.
That's the extent of my time in Spain. But okay, yeah, good. Those are some good newsworthy items. I think we pretty much covered it, didn't we, boss?
That was it. That was the news items I put together. So I was happy that you thought most of this stuff was actually newsworthy. Thank you. Trying to keep people updated, man.
No, boss. Thank you for the hard work and in Vince's absence. Chang, you better get your butt back, man. All right, we're gonna.
You guys not gonna get you guys gonna get your butts to Amsterdam pretty soon.
That's right. So for y'all watching and listening, Vince and I are going to Amsterdam.
Damn.
All right, we're gonna do the podcast from the 3x3 Unite studio with Boz. It's gonna be the big one. This is like the one where we're heading into the World Tour season, the women's series. So not like the launch episode, but this is the marquee one to kind of get the fire started for 2025. So I'm excited. Vince is excited. We got our tickets. I'm getting my Airbnb. So the next pod will be coming to you from the damn. So very much looking forward to that. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe. This podcast can be found on all major platforms.
Exactly.
Right? And make sure y'all get active with us. Send us y'all questions, y'all comments. Hit us up on the gram at Word on the Streets. Replace the E's with threes. All right, that'll do it for this episode. From my guy, the mountain, Boz Rozendaal. I'm the voice of 3x3, Kyle Montgomery saying peace out. Catch y'all next episode. See you in Amsterdam, Vince.